Hello and welcome to a beautiful snowy day right here at the edge of Rocky Mountain National Park. Are you planning a trip to Rocky Mountain National Park during the winter? And you're wondering, what do I bring? What do I need to know? How do I stay warm out there? Well, I've spent over 20 years exploring this spectacular national park. In fact, this is my home. I'm out here all winter long, hiking through the mountains, skiing, and enjoying all that it has to offer. So let me fill you in on everything you need to know to have the best experience possible. Because it's snowing out here pretty hard, let's head into my studio and then I can bring out some things and kind of walk you through what you need to think about before you come. Well, welcome back into the warmth. Let's begin with the basics. Now, the first thing you need to be aware when visiting Rocky Mountain National Park is that the temperatures in the park are going to vary greatly from one area of the park to another, usually based on the elevation. And it will also change a great deal from day to day. The winter days are not uniform. We have many warm winter days where you really don't even need a jacket. It's wonderful. But we also have days that are bitterly cold, windy days, and also snowy days. So how do you dress to handle the wide range of temperatures and weather conditions that you're likely to experience? Well, the key is to dress in layers so that you can take layers off when you get warm and put layers on when you get cold. Now, this means that you should bring with you a backpack to put those extra layers in while you're out in the park. Now, if you spend a lot of time hiking or climbing in the mountains, then you'll be well aware that there's a lot of complexity to developing an effective layering system. However, today I'm going to keep it really simple and focus on the majority of visitors who come and only spend a couple of hours outside at a time, not the hardcore hikers. I'm going to suggest that you bring 3 additional layers with you besides whatever shirt you're wearing. You want a lightweight fleece or sweater, a warm winter jacket, and also a windproof layer. Now, most of you will have a lightweight sweater or fleece in your closet at home. I personally prefer ones that will wick the moisture away. A lightweight wool sweater is ideal. Now, if it is one of those wonderful warm winter days, you may be able to do some hiking and walking out in the park with just this by itself. Now, the second layer you should bring with you is a windproof layer. And you'll notice that this windproof jacket really doesn't have any insulation to it. We usually refer to these type of jackets as shells because they keep out the wind and rain. Sometimes the temperature can be fairly warm for the winter, but rather windy. On those days, you'll find that wind will cut through any soft layers and make you very cold very quickly. On those days, you can use a shell like this to help keep you warm, and this should be just fine. Now, for this windproof layer, you may have at home a windbreaker, a ski jacket, or even a rain jacket. And with these 2 layers, you can handle most of those warm and even windy days. Now, the third layer you want to bring with you is a warm winter jacket. I personally prefer to use a down jacket as they're pretty lightweight, very warm, and can be stuffed into a backpack easily. You may not have a down jacket, so just bring any warm jacket that you have. Just know that you might be taking it on and off, so you want to have something that will keep you warm in very cold temperatures, but also something which is going to fit in that backpack of yours. These warm jackets can just go over the fleece and are great for most days, except when the wind is howling. Now, if it's really chilly outside and the winds are also blowing strongly, then you want not only your fleece, but your warm jacket, and then you can put your shell over the top of that, and that will allow you to keep the heat in and stay nice and snug and warm even on some of the coldest winter days. By having these 3 main pieces of clothing, you'll be able to adjust to just about any winter situation that you'll encounter out there in Rocky Mountain National Park. Now, there are just a few other pieces of clothing that you should have with you when you come. First, and of most importance, is a warm, comfortable pair of waterproof boots. I regularly see people hiking through the snow in their tennis shoes or even in their sandals. Sometimes I see people out in cowboy boots as well, but none of these will keep your feet warm and dry. What you may not realize is that cold, wet feet are not merely uncomfortable, they can actually turn out to be dangerous. So be sure to have a warm pair of boots with you. Now, if you're planning to wear your hiking boots out there, and I recommend that you either buy or that you rent a pair of gaiters. And these will go around your boot and keep the snow from going in there. They're not essential, but they will make your time a whole lot better. I wear them all the time in the winter when I'm not out on my skis. Now, the last items of clothing you'll want to bring with you are a warm windproof hat and a warm pair of gloves or mittens. Now, in terms of the hat, you want something that won't blow off your head and that will actually keep your head warm. Baseball caps, cowboy hats, and more decorative hats are not going to be of much use up here. And if your hat isn't windproof, it's not going to keep you very warm either. There are just a few more items, and these last items you may not have at home. But fortunately, all of these can be rented very cheaply when you get here. I'll list some of the locations where you can rent these in the notes section down below. So the next item on your list should be a pair of microspikes. The trails up here in Rocky Mountain National Park can get very, very icy. These microspikes slip over your boots and will enable you to walk on the ice without slipping. They're very important to have, whether you are just visiting Sprague Lake or hiking higher up into the park. In fact, after warm clothing, microspikes should be the very next priority on your list. Now, I also recommend that you bring hiking poles with you into the park. They can really help you with balance while walking over the ice or through deep snow. And I recommend these for everyone who visits during the winter. Now, if it has snowed more than a couple of inches, or if the trail is soft or snow, then instead of microspikes, you'll want to bring snowshoes with you. These will keep you up above the snow and will make your trips so much more enjoyable. Wading through deep snow without snowshoes can be miserable, and it can make a real mess of the trail for those who come behind you. So what I recommend is that you rent both snowshoes and microspikes, bring them both to the trailhead, then find out what conditions are like and see which one you're actually going to need, because it can vary a lot from day to day. Well, if you have all of these items, you should be well prepared for dealing with the varying temperatures, the cold winds, the icy trails, or the deep snow. Now, there are a few other things that you need to be aware of to have a safe winter experience. Firstly, in terms of navigation, if you plan to do some hiking or snowshoeing in the winter, it can actually be surprisingly easy to get turned around and not know where you are. You'd think you could just follow your trail through the snow back to where you came from, but sometimes there are trails through the snow heading in every direction. It can be hard to tell which trail you came on. Now, if you stick to the main trails in the popular areas of the park, they are usually quite wide and very easy to follow. It's very unlikely you're going to get lost. Where you can get into trouble is when you follow a small track through the snow. It could lead anywhere or nowhere. Now, if you plan to head into the woods following these smaller snow trails, then be sure that you have a map and compass with you. Or, at the very least, use a map on your phone. But be aware that phones tend to die in the cold weather up here, and then you're stuck. So even with the battery backup, it still may die. Now, before you follow a trail, find out where you are on the map. Then, pay attention to what direction you're heading. Perhaps notice some of the mountains around you above the trees, and use them to keep yourself oriented. Now, if you aren't comfortable navigating by map through the woods, then I really recommend that you stick to the main trails. Now, another thing that many visitors are not aware of are the dangers of encountering avalanches when hiking in Rocky Mountain National Park. Avalanches can occur on any slope with an angle of greater than 30 degrees. Now, the greatest avalanche danger is typically within a day or two of a large snowfall, but high winds can also pile snow up, creating avalanche danger. And even melting snow in the spring will avalanche. So, before heading out for a day in the snowy mountains, be sure to check the website of the Colorado Avalanche Information Center. I'll put a link in the notes down below. Now, each day they put out a simple color-coded report about the avalanche dangers in different parts of the state. They also have a lot of great resources and information on their website that will help you to be educated and to stay safe. I really recommend you spend some time reading their website. Now, when they report that the avalanche danger is high, then you're going to want to stay off of any steep slopes and also avoid walking under any steep snowy slopes. Unfortunately, some trails in the park do travel through avalanche terrain, and it is up to you to ensure your own safety. So check the forecast, and if the danger is high, then avoid being on or below those steep slopes. On those days, I also recommend that you talk with a ranger about the trail you plan to hike, and they may be able to let you know if it heads through any avalanche areas. And if it does, they can suggest alternate routes or destinations. Now, the last thing you need to be aware of is that it is often very windy up here in the winter. Most of the time, it is simply an inconvenience. But there are times when those winds can be dangerous. The two main dangers are falling trees and also winds so strong that they can pick you up and throw you. Now, if the winds are blowing violently and you see the trees beginning to bend, then it's time to stay out of the forest. And you also don't want to head above tree line either, because that's where the winds will throw you. Otherwise, if it's just a normal windy day, then the forest trails could be a great place to take a hike and enjoy a break from the wind. So let me finish by summarizing the keys to staying safe and warm while visiting Rocky Mountain National Park during the winter. Firstly, dress in layers: a warm fleece, a windproof jacket, a warm winter jacket, a warm windproof hat, and warm gloves or mittens. Also, bring a backpack to keep your extra layers. Number 2, bring or rent a pair of microspikes and poles. If there are more than a few inches of fresh snow, then use snowshoes. Number 3, stay on the main trails unless you have a map and know how to use it. Number 4, be avalanche aware and check the forecast with the Colorado Avalanche Information Center. And 5, stay inside with a good book on the days when the winds are really howling strongly. Now, of course, there are many other things I could tell you that would probably be helpful, but these things are the ones you absolutely need to know before heading out so that you can really enjoy winter in Rocky Mountain National Park. Well, I hope you learned something today. If you enjoyed this video, then check out my many other videos on Rocky Mountain National Park. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope to see all of you out on the trail. To help you prepare for your visit to Rocky Mountain National Park, visit my website, rockymountainnationalpark.com. For hiking guides, calendars, coffee table books, and more, visit rockytrailpress.com. And when you arrive, be sure and stop by my gallery in downtown Estes Park. It's called Images of RMNP.